There are empaths walking among us who seem to inhabit a different world entirely, where synchronicities flow like water and protection arrives without asking. Jung noticed something extraordinary in his practice, a pattern that emerged again and again among certain patients who reported experiences that others would dismiss as impossible. These individuals possessed what he came to understand as a heightened frequency of being, a vibrational state that unlocked access to realities most people never encounter. What Jung discovered in his consulting room was not mere coincidence, but evidence of a profound transformation that occurs when an empath reaches a specific level of inner integration. 7 unmistakable signs reveal whether you belong to this rare group of individuals who have learned to navigate existence from an elevated state of consciousness. These are not abilities you develop through practice, but natural byproducts of deep inner work, manifestations of what happens when your soul achieves coherence with itself. Today we explore these 7 experiences that only high-vibration empaths encounter, drawing from Jung's insights into the human psyche and the extraordinary capacities that emerge when consciousness expands beyond ordinary limitations. As we journey through each manifestation, you may recognize patterns in your own life that you never fully understood, experiences that felt too mysterious to share yet too real to dismiss. These signs point to something profound happening within your energetic field, a transformation that Jung recognized as the hallmark of psychological individuation reaching its most refined expression. The first thing Jung observed was an inexplicable magnetism that seemed to radiate from certain individuals without any conscious effort on their part. When you resolve the deep contradictions within yourself, when you stop fighting against your own nature and embrace the full spectrum of who you are, something invisible begins to emanate from your being. This is not charisma in the conventional sense, not the result of techniques or social skills, but rather the natural consequence of achieving inner wholeness. People find themselves drawn to you in ways they cannot explain. Conversations deepen without your pushing them deeper. Opportunities present themselves as if the universe itself is conspiring to support your path. This magnetic quality emerges from what Jung understood as the integration of opposing forces within the psyche, the marriage of conscious and unconscious elements that creates a unified field of presence. The difference between this authentic magnetism and ordinary attempts at attraction is profound. You are not trying to seduce or impress anyone. You have moved beyond the exhausting dance of seeking approval or validation from others. Instead, your energy speaks a language that bypasses the rational mind and touches something deeper in those around you. They feel inexplicably safe in your presence, inspired to reveal parts of themselves they usually keep hidden. This creates what Jung might call a paradox of non-necessity. The less you need others to fill some void within you, the more they want to be near you. Your completeness becomes a mirror that shows them what is possible when someone stops abandoning themselves for the sake of belonging. Your presence alone becomes an invitation to authenticity, though you extend this invitation without words or effort. The second manifestation Jung recognized was the emergence of profound harmony between mind and body, a synchronization that most people never achieve. When your mental and physical aspects stop warring against each other, when they begin working as allies rather than adversaries, a remarkable vitality emerges that seems to draw from an inexhaustible source. Your body becomes a trusted advisor, sending you signals about people, places, and decisions before your analytical mind has time to process the information. This is not mere intuition, but a sophisticated communication system between different levels of your being. You begin to trust these physical impressions, allowing your body to guide you toward choices that align with your deepest truth. Those who reach this level of integration often discover that chronic health issues begin to resolve without dramatic interventions. The body, no longer fighting against suppressed emotions or contradictory beliefs, can direct its energy toward healing and renewal. This is not about becoming obsessive about diet or exercise, but rather about addressing the emotional and psychological roots of physical imbalance. From this place of mind-body coherence comes an energy that seems to renew itself. While others exhaust themselves through internal conflict and resistance, you learn to move with the natural rhythms of your being. Challenges that would drain others become opportunities for you to access deeper reserves of strength and clarity. Jung understood this phenomenon as evidence of what he called the transcendent function, the psyche's ability to bridge opposing forces and create something new from their synthesis. When this function operates freely, it generates a quality of well-being that becomes your natural state rather than something you must constantly work to maintain. You discover that peace and vitality are not destinations to reach, but expressions of who you truly are when nothing is blocking your essential nature. As this inner harmony deepens, the third sign begins to emerge that Jung observed in his most psychologically developed patients. A natural resilience to negative influences develops, not as a defensive wall, but as a kind of transparent protection that allows you to witness darkness without absorbing it into your system. This is what Jung might describe as the emergence of conscious discrimination. You learn to distinguish between what belongs to you and what belongs to others, between genuine insight and projected pain. When someone directs criticism or anger toward you, you can hear it as information about their internal state, rather than truth about your identity. This discernment arises naturally from deep self-knowledge, from having explored your own shadows so thoroughly that you recognize them when they appear projected by others. You develop what could be called emotional alchemy, the ability to transform dense energies into understanding and compassion. Toxic situations that would once derail you for days now move through your system like weather passing through sky. You remain present and open-hearted, even in the midst of conflict, maintaining your center while others lose theirs. This does not mean you become passive or allow yourself to be mistreated. Rather, you respond from a place of clarity rather than reactivity. You can set boundaries without building walls, can say no without closing your heart. Your protection comes not from hardening yourself against the world, but from being so rooted in your own truth that external storms cannot shake your foundation. Jung recognized this capacity as evidence of what he called holding the tension of opposites. You become able to contain contradictory emotions and experiences without needing to choose sides or collapse into one extreme. This psychological flexibility allows you to navigate complex human dynamics with grace, transforming potential poison into medicine through the alchemy of conscious awareness. The fourth sign Jung noticed was a remarkable affinity that high-vibration empaths develop with children and animals. These beings, still connected to their instinctual wisdom, possess natural radar systems that immediately detect authenticity. They are drawn to adults who have preserved or reclaimed their own essential innocence, who carry the quality of presence that animals and children recognize as safe and true. This connection happens without effort or strategy. A crying child calms in your presence. Shy animals approach you while avoiding others. There is something in your energy field that speaks a universal language of trust, a frequency that transcends words and touches the primitive wisdom that guides all living beings toward what nurtures life. Jung understood this phenomenon through his concept of the eternal child archetype, the part of the psyche that maintains wonder, spontaneity, and direct connection to the source of life. When adults heal their relationship with their own inner child, when they stop betraying the parts of themselves that remain open and vulnerable, they begin to emanate the safety that children and animals instinctively seek. Your presence becomes a sanctuary for beings who live in authenticity, who have not yet learned to wear masks or manipulate their environment. They recognize in you someone who has remembered how to be genuine, who has shed the layers of conditioning that separate most adults from their essential nature. This recognition creates instant bonds that bypass all social conventions and connect soul to soul. The quality that draws these pure beings to you is the absence of agenda. You are not trying to get anything from them, not using them to fill some emptiness within yourself. This creates space for natural communion to occur, for connections that restore both parties to their original innocence. In their presence, you remember what it feels like to exist without pretense, while your presence reminds them that some adults can still be trusted with their vulnerability. The fifth sign reveals itself as this affinity extends beyond individual encounters to become a transformative force in any environment you enter. Jung observed that certain individuals possessed what he might call an alchemical presence, the ability to shift the emotional and energetic atmosphere of spaces simply by being themselves. When you walk into a room carrying this quality of integrated consciousness, tensions begin to dissolve without your doing anything specific to address them. Conversations naturally elevate from surface level to meaningful exchange. People find themselves speaking more truthfully, revealing deeper aspects of themselves than they typically share. The field of possibility expands around you, inviting others to step into more authentic versions of themselves. This transformation happens through what Jung understood as unconscious communication. Your coherent internal state broadcasts a frequency that reorganizes the psychological field around you. Others unconsciously adjust their behavior to match the higher vibration you embody, not because you demand it, but because your authenticity creates permission for their own intuition. You become a catalyst for groups to access their collective wisdom rather than getting stuck in reactive patterns. Meetings that might have devolved into conflict find unexpected resolution. Creative projects that were stagnant suddenly discover new momentum. Your presence alone becomes a reminder of what becomes possible when human beings operate from their highest potential rather than their defended positions. This is not leadership in the conventional sense of giving directions or taking control. Instead, you lead by example, by maintaining your connection to truth, even when others around you are lost in confusion or drama. Your centered presence becomes an anchor point that allows others to find their way back to their own wisdom. Physical spaces seem to breathe differently when you are present, as if the environment itself responds to the quality of consciousness you carry. Jung would recognize this phenomenon as evidence of what he called the participation mystique, the unconscious connection that exists between all living beings. When you embody a high level of psychological integration, you automatically influence the collective field, raising the frequency of consciousness available to everyone in your vicinity. This happens naturally, without effort or intention, as a byproduct of your own inner work reaching a level of completion. Yet perhaps the most profound effect you have on others occurs not through what you bring to them, but through what your presence evokes from within them. The sixth quality Jung documented shows how high-vibration empaths often discover that they serve as mirrors for others, reflecting back both shadows and potentials that people have been avoiding or denying. Your authenticity becomes a catalyst that awakens dormant questions in others about their own lives. Someone who has been sleepwalking through their existence suddenly finds themselves wondering if there might be more to life than they have been experiencing. Your example of living from truth rather than programming triggers their recognition of how far they have drifted from their own essential nature. This mirroring effect can create discomfort in those who are not ready to face what they have been hiding from themselves. Some people may feel inexplicably irritated by your presence, triggered by your refusal to participate in the collective trance of unconscious living. Your light reveals the shadows they have been denying, and this revelation can feel threatening to their carefully constructed identity. Jung understood this dynamic as projection, the unconscious tendency to see in others what we cannot acknowledge in ourselves. When you embody qualities that others have disowned, when you live with an integrity they have abandoned, your presence can evoke both inspiration and resentment. You become a screen onto which they project their unlived potential and their fear of claiming it. Learning to navigate this responsibly becomes part of your path. You discover how to carry your light without dimming it to make others comfortable, while also not unconsciously wielding it as a weapon against those still sleeping. The goal is not to awaken others against their will, but to remain authentic regardless of their reaction, trusting that your example plants seeds that may sprout when the timing is right. This capacity to evoke self-reflection in others comes with what Jung might call a sacred responsibility. You learn to hold space for people to encounter themselves more deeply without trying to fix or change them. Your role becomes that of a compassionate witness to their awakening process, offering the gift of seeing them clearly while allowing them the dignity of their own journey. The seventh and perhaps most mysterious experience that Jung documented among high-vibration empaths is their ability to form instant, profound connections with certain strangers. There exists what he might describe as a recognition between souls who vibrate at similar frequencies, a mutual identification that transcends ordinary social conventions and creates immediate intimacy. These encounters feel touched by synchronicity, as if invisible forces have orchestrated meetings that needed to happen for reasons beyond conscious understanding. A chance conversation with someone on a train becomes a life-changing exchange. A brief interaction at a coffee shop evolves into a friendship that feels decades old within minutes. The connection bypasses all the usual stages of relationship building and moves directly into authentic communion. Jung would understand this through his concept of the collective unconscious, the shared reservoir of human experience that connects all beings at the deepest level. When two people have done significant inner work, when they have cleared away the debris of conditioning and trauma that clouds most relationships, they can meet each other at this archetypal level where recognition is immediate and profound. In these encounters, masks fall away naturally. The usual social pretenses become unnecessary because both parties sense they are in the presence of someone who will not judge their authenticity. Conversations quickly move beyond surface topics to explore meaning, purpose, and the deeper mysteries of existence. There is a quality of timelessness to these exchanges, as if you have stepped outside ordinary reality into a space where souls can speak freely to one another. These connections often feel infused with a sense of having known each other before, though you may be meeting for the first time in this life. Jung might explain this through his understanding of archetypal patterns, the universal themes that connect all human experience across time and culture. When two people embody similar archetypal energies, when they have individuated to a similar degree, this recognition occurs at a level deeper than personality or personal history. The strangers who can meet you at this depth are usually fellow travelers on the path of consciousness, others who have done their own work of integration and awakening. Your high vibration calls to theirs, creating a resonance that makes profound connection not only possible, but inevitable. These meetings become gifts that remind you that you are not alone in your journey toward authenticity, that there are others walking similar paths even when they are not immediately visible. What Jung recognized as the ultimate fruition of individuation comes with what he might call the luminous solitude of awakening. As your consciousness expands and your vibration rises, you may find yourself naturally moving beyond the frequency range where most people operate. This creates a unique form of aloneness that is both challenging and sacred. The more authentic you become, the fewer people can meet you at the depth where you naturally live. Conversations that once satisfied you may begin to feel hollow. Relationships that were based on shared dysfunction or mutual unconsciousness may no longer serve your growth. You find yourself inhabiting a space between worlds, no longer fully belonging to the sleeping masses, yet not quite ready to claim your place among the fully awakened. This solitude is different from loneliness. It is the natural consequence of outgrowing the collective trance, of refusing to participate in the consensual illusion that keeps most people trapped in cycles of suffering and distraction. Jung understood this as an inevitable stage in psychological development, the price of consciousness that few are willing to pay. Yet within this apparent isolation lies a profound gift. You begin to discover that authentic solitude connects you to the deeper currents of existence in ways that surface relationships never could. You learn to find companionship in nature, in books, in the vast intelligence that moves through all things. Your aloneness becomes a doorway to communion with something far greater than any individual personality. The challenge becomes learning to shine your light without creating unnecessary distance from those still making their way toward awakening. You discover how to remain accessible to others while honoring your own frequency, how to serve as a bridge between worlds without losing yourself.